Episode 65 of the Travel Bros podcast. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It's March 2026. Spring break is on the horizon. Hurricane season is in the far distant future. So, Jamie and I are going to talk about luxury hotels opening in the Caribbean. Some of these properties are going to open as soon as next month. And
we hope.
Yeah, 6 weeks from now, give or take. It's already been pushed back a little bit. Some of these properties probably might even be opening in like 2032. But we've got 8 properties. We've got some honorable mentions. We're gonna start digging in. And I got some interesting backstories on a couple of my properties I'm also excited about. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, let's do this. I was going
What's
to
your
say, I
first
think, especially talking about the Caribbean, you talk about being on island time. I feel like Caribbean construction is the epitome of island time. I don't know of any properties that have ever opened on time. So when we give you dates, take these with a grain of salt. It may or may not happen.
And I think something else to consider, Jamie usually brings this up. I'll be the one to bang this drum. When and if these properties do open, I highly suggest a 6-month buffer in your booking for the best experience. So I'm talking about this property opening in May 15th right now soon. I would be thinking about booking it in 2027.
That's fair.
Versus 2026. Unless you just are a real glutton for.
Well, and I think some people really do enjoy being like the first person to sleep in a room or, one of the very first people to be at a property. And I've done it before. I think about Baha. I think I went a month or two after it opened. Same with Evermore. So it is cool to see, be the first one there and then see how it grows over the years. But just know you're not going to be getting the best of the best experience typically. There's growing pains, things they need to figure out. Staff's usually fairly new. So, just know that going in if you're booking within a month or so of opening.
All right, perfect. Jamie, hit us with your first property. Let's go.
All right, first one. This one I'm pretty excited about. I have not been to Belize in a lot of years. I would say probably 20 plus years. And when I did go, it was on a cruise. So we are going to be talking about the Four Seasons Resort and Residences Caye Chapel in Belize, which we'll call the Four Seasons Belize. This is still a ways out. So this is set to open in 2027. Don't have exact dates yet. It is set on Caye Chapel, which is a private island off the coast of Belize. It is, the way they describe it, is ringed by 6 miles of white sand beaches. So beach-wise, it looks pretty incredible. It's going to be somewhere in the 100-room range. So to me, when it comes to like luxury hotels, that really feels like the sweet spot, like 90 to 110 rooms. It's enough where you have a good bit of amenities, also get like the personalized touch and the really good service. There are plans, and this is really cool. So you don't get a lot of these anywhere in the Caribbean. There are plans, and this may be I'm going to say that this is probably the first Four Seasons outside of the Maldives or like Bora Bora. They're going to have 18 overwater bungalows. So if you're looking for a really special occasion, honeymoon, something like that, Four Seasons, Belize, you're going to be able to do Four Seasons overwater bungalows without having to do a 18-hour adventure. There is a cenote-inspired spa concept, so I'll be really curious to see what that looks like. And then guests and owners, they will have residences, will get access to an 18-hole Greg Norman and Lorena Ochoa designed golf course. So I imagine that's going to be on this private island. So I don't know if it'll only be open to members and guests, which if that's the case, I imagine it's going to be a really cool experience. This property, and if you're at all familiar with Belize, like it's great diving, great snorkeling, great fishing. This is going to be adjacent to a UNESCO designated Belize barrier reef system. So I imagine you'll be able to do some really cool excursions, out diving, out snorkeling, things like that. The plan calls for, and I don't know if, exactly what this is going to look like, but there's going to be 50 private estate lots with 35 to 50 residences. So I don't know that that's going to be something we're going to be booked, but it seems like a very popular trend with most of these Caribbean resorts opening. There's typically residences of some sort attached to them. So I think this one looks really promising. Four Seasons, obviously, we're Four Seasons fans. So looking forward to this one opening. This will be what I probably would personally really want to check out when it opens.
Jamie, I got some crazy stuff to throw out about this property now. For our really long time listeners, I talked about this property, I think in episode 4 of our podcast. It was set to open then in 2025. It's still not open in 2026. They're saying 2027. I found some stuff. I don't know, some of this stuff is harder to verify than others, but let's talk about a few interesting things here. This is a 280-acre island that this investment group purchased for $11.4 million back in 2024.
That seems like a bargain. I don't know. That seems good.
Probably. It is Belize, so I don't know if it, has quite the same value. Here's some issues that you might find interesting. The budget for this project I found was estimated to be around 200 million USD. However, reports from the Belize government and some other leaked documents have indicated that the build cost has already exceeded $500 million.
Okay.
So their budget plus two. So hopefully it's going to feel like no expenses spared. Apparently, they've had a lot of issues with the things such as desalination on the island, the massive environmental restoration required for coastline and reef protection, sustainable power on the island. A lot of these things have just been turned into issues. One thing I also found, the overwater bungalows to meet the Four Seasons structural and luxury safety standards in a hurricane prone region about the Caribbean has increased cost exponentially. Now,
See that?
something I hadn't even thought of, but I think we mentioned or you mentioned that they are the first like bungalows from Four Seasons on the Western Hemisphere. Probably why. So it sounds like that's kind of a pain point as well. Interestingly, though, they have sold out their whole phase one of real estate. So 35 of the private residences are already sold out,
Interesting.
which I hope they didn't put big deposits down. My gosh.
Right? That would stink.
Woof. Um, and then I think one other thing to talk about is they've built an airstrip on the island. So a lot of these private island properties usually require a boat ride, which it does say it's only a 30-minute boat ride from Belize City. So it's not terrible. But they do have a private airstrip now. So it sounds like there will be some path or plan. I'm hoping that Four Seasons will have some kind of plane similar like Four Seasons Lanai that they can offer kind of shuttle service at least
Yep.
for you back and forth to the city.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I think when you think about, hey, I bought the island for 11 million, but we're in for 500 million now. It's a big expense.
I do genuinely think that it's going to pan out. Like if they actually can get this property open and this island functioning like at a level that a Four Seasons can deliver, I think it's possible.
I was trying to see if there's any like current pictures. The renderings look incredible. So if it ends up looking anything like the renderings, this is going to be essentially like the Maldives in Belize is what it looks like.
Yes, it does look that way for sure. All right, Jamie,
Where are we going?
I'm just coming in hot with my first one. Waldorf. It's the Waldorf Astoria Turks and Caicos Dellis Caye, set to open in 2028. It's 175 keys. We've talked about this property a couple times. 62 hotel rooms and suites, comprised of 42 rooms, 10 suites with large outdoor spaces, 10 beachfront bungalows with private terraces and plunge pools, and 65 residents ranging from 2 to 6 bedroom. It will have a 13,500 square foot spa, a 1,600 foot fitness center, a library, and adult and family pools.
I like it. I'm a Waldorf fan, so I'm excited for this one.
And you're a Turks fan.
I am, other than the airport, but yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one.
So good news is this is on a private island. As I mentioned, it will only be a 25-minute boat transfer from the island, so you don't have to
Nice.
do an extra airport visit. However, Jamie, I noticed doing research for this property, there is a lot of skepticism online that this property would ever get done. I'm going to take a sip for dramatic pause.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And I started doing some research, and I found out that this Waldorf Astoria set to open in 2028 is actually a failed Mandarin Oriental. And so that essentially turned into a ghost resort. It never got built. And let me read you some notes that I found on this, and then we'll talk a little bit more about this Waldorf Astoria. The cursed reputation of Dellis Caye is legendary in the luxury travel world. It's a saga, a political scandal, a $1.5 billion collapse that left an abandoned concrete skeleton that sat on this
Ooh.
pristine beach for 15 years. In the mid 2000s, Dellis Caye was marketed as the most ambitious private island project in the Western Hemisphere. Turkish developer Dr. Simkanay planned a 1.5 billion design driven paradise. He hired the best architects. They brought in the Mandarin Oriental brand. Apparently, you had some big A-list celebrities that even bought into like
Oh
investing and
boy.
living on the property. Michael Douglas, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Then something happened, Jamie, that you might recall: the 2008 financial crisis did not help this progress. Then the project basically became a huge corruption scandal in the country of Turks and Caicos. There was a lot of government land lease drama. I mean, if you want to go read into this, there were like a lot of illegal political contribution campaigns. 2009, the property went into receivership. The whole thing stopped. So from 2010 to 2014, this thing basically just sat in ruins. And then now the Waldorf Astoria has come. But then what's crazy is the Waldorf Astoria has bought this plot of land. They're building the Waldorf Astoria where this Mandarin Oriental is. But they have to take out all the concrete that was laid from the
I was
original
going to say, you
property.
probably can't use it sitting there for 15 years.
It's been sitting there and it doesn't meet the current hurricane standards. So like they're just spending money to,
Yeah.
demolish it. Now people are saying it's good news because it was cursed concrete. They're bringing in uncursed concrete for this project. So that is always exciting, but quite a ride there on that one. 2028 feels ambitious. It doesn't really seem like they've started doing that much. But hey, Andaz Turks and Caicos has been opening every year for the past 10. So why not the Waldorf Astoria as well?
It's funny when you said it was a Mandarin that became a Waldorf. I had to do a little Googling to see how many Mandarins have become Waldorfs, because I was kind of thinking like, hey, that might be a theme. The two that I thought of were the only two that came up. So Mandarin Vegas and Mandarin Atlanta both became Waldorf Astorias.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, does someone at Waldorf just sit around and wait for like failed Mandarin Orientals to grab? But this will be the third one, apparently.
The Mandarin Oriental in San Francisco converted to the Four Seasons Embarcario.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that this is relevant, but it makes you wonder why Mandarin Oriental struggles to keep hotels in their chain. Do you think they just have such a high expectation service level? It's cheaper for companies to leave the brand?
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like when you think about Vegas, particularly, that's a super competitive market, right? It's probably hard to sell the Mandarin brand when you've got Wynn and other high end in the that market. And then I feel like Atlanta, there's not really. There's not really that high end luxury market in Atlanta necessarily.
Mhm.
I mean, that was probably the nicest hotel in Atlanta at the time.
Yeah, it's true.
That's my thought. And even when you look at Waldorf Atlanta now, like the prices are not that crazy.
Cool. And okay, so a couple things to wrap up, I think, about here is people. I don't know if I agree with this, but people are looking at this as maybe an Amman alternative. Amanyara is kind of like the top luxury spot in Turks. Part of me thinks they're comparing it. It's new. It's been built. It is on a private island, so you're getting very low density privacy, right? It's an island of 560 acres. There's only 175 rooms in this hotel. One of the struggles that I have seen people talking about is like, how are they going to get 300 plus employees
Yeah, that's a tough one. You
working
got
on
to
this
shuttle them
private
back and
island?
forth unless they live on the island,
Right.
which is
Which I imagine,
interesting. We're going to run into
yeah,
that with all these properties we talk, or a lot of them that we talk about.
which I imagine you don't really need to, with it just being a 20-minute boat ride, you know, here and forth. I think the interesting thing that brings value to this property is Grace Bay is turning a little bit into a Waikiki situation, I feel like. Like when you go there now, there's all this in development, but I feel like
Oh yeah, it's
once all
crazy.
these new, like there's a Hotel Indigo, there's an Intercontinental coming, there's a,
I'll read you a list. I
okay,
was pulling some.
please.
I may be missing some. So we're gonna hit ones that we don't even think about. There's the Lauren at Grace Bay, Amaris Grace Bay, which is an LXR resort. I've got what else? Hotel Indigo Grace Bay, which you just hit on. We know that the Andaz is coming. What else do we got? I mean, there's just a ton opening there. I'm probably missing some more. When I was there a couple months ago, I mean, there's probably 10 hotels being built. Like there's cranes everywhere. It's crazy, which I don't know of anywhere else that is being developed like that all at the same time. It's normally like, hey, there's one or two new properties popping up, but Grace Bay is just being built up like crazy.
Right. And so if you think about it, getting into the Waldorf early, you've got 3 miles of beach for 175 units. Grace Bay probably has 175 units for every 30 feet of beach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
no kidding.
uh, I do think there might be a lot of value there. But Jamie, what's your next property? What you got?
I am going to stick with this private island theme that we seem to be going with. So I am going with the Bvllgari Resort and Mansions on Caye in the Bahamas. So this is going to be in the Exumas. This is a far out date. So given that, who knows if this thing ever opens. So this opening date is scheduled for 2029. This will be the first Bvllgari hotel opening in the Caribbean. And I'm trying to think if there's any others even like around that I can think of. Definitely the first in the Caribbean.
It's the first in the Western Hemisphere,
That's
isn't it?
kind of what I was thinking. I didn't want to make that statement without knowing that factually, but yeah, I do believe it is the first one like over here at all. So this is a 220-acre island. And the hotels only plan to have 64 luxury suites and 48 privately owned Bvllgari mansions and estates. So you're talking basically 64 room hotel and then 48 privately owned, which I assume you're not going to be able to rent those. Again, similar to these other ones we're talking about. So you don't have to worry about crowds. You don't have to worry about, any of that. And the Exumas have probably, or I would say arguably, some of the most picturesque, beautiful water that you're going to find in the Caribbean. When you picture that Caribbean blue, like that's what you're going to get here. So I do think this is going to be probably a very expensive option, but a really nice option. It's listed going to have some signature dining, Il Ristorante by Nico Romito. It's going to have La Spiaggia Beach Club. So I imagine that's going to be probably something like you'd see on St. Bart's or something like a kind of trendy beach club. Extensive Bvllgari spa and wellness center. This will also have a full service marina. So, if you're taking your yacht out and you are looking for, somewhere to dock and spend some time, I think this is going to be a really cool option. I'm not familiar with this company, but ACPV Architects is responsible for the design. And it sounds like they use them pretty much across the board from what I'm reading here. So, not a ton of information being this thing is still a lot of years out, but if this comes to fruition, again, that's going to be another really cool private island option.
Okay. Let's talk about this brand, Jamie, please. Now, I've never stayed in a hotel of theirs. Where do you put this brand?
So from what I can tell, again, I haven't stayed in one of these either, and I've booked very few. I feel like this is probably like Four Seasons Plus level. I do think it is a very high-end luxury brand, more probably boutique-y feel. I mean, just the number of hotels is not a lot. Probably between Four Seasons and Amman maybe is kind of what I'm thinking in my mind. Like, I don't think you're best of the best, but you're probably definitely up there.
Yeah, because this was my thought, is a good example. I was trying to convince someone to stay there or consider staying there. And this was in Dubai. Okay. And the Four Seasons Dubai was about $800 a night, which I think that's expensive for Dubai.
Yeah.
When you consider like the luxury options in Dubai, the Bvllgari hotel was like $1,700.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I think it's a cool idea. The property looks cool. You can't spend $1,700 to stay in a base room in Dubai. Like that's just crazy.
I'm going to tell you what AI tells me when I ask where they sit in the luxury hierarchy.
Okay.
They're in the top 1 to 2% on the level of Amman, Cheval Blanc, Rosewood Reserve, Four Season Private Islands, and Flagship Resorts. So I do, according to this, it is going to be, kind of best of the best. It says most resorts are 50 to 80 keys, heavy emphasis on privacy, huge suites and villas, branded residence and mansions for people that want to avoid mega resort scale entirely.
Maybe what bothered.
It attracts ultra high net worth, fashion and design crowd, yacht set celebrities, and European elite.
Oh, okay. I will say I think the Tokyo property looks really interesting, and I think the Rome property looks really interesting. Part of, I think, my struggle with this brand, which this Bahamas property maybe changes a little bit, but they're in such high competitive they have properties in Rome, Milan, London, Paris, Dubai, Tokyo, Beijing, Shanghai. There's just so many luxury
Yeah.
properties in all these areas. Let's talk about a few interesting things, Jamie. So I did confirm there are no Western Hemisphere projects at this time. Now, open. Now, they have two properties that are supposed to be opening in the United States. One I'm going to talk about real quick, just as some interesting addition. It's the Bvllgari Hotel Miami Beach.
That would have been my
Jamie,
guess.
this hotel, I have actually stayed in the hotel they're renovating for
Oh
this
boy.
hotel. It's the Siegel Hotel. It's like an
Okay.
old Art Deco property. Jamie, I'm pretty sure if I went into my hotels.com account, if I could get an archive from 2004 or
150
whenever I
bucks.
stay there, yeah, for sure a sub $200 a night hotel. So they got a lot of work to do here. So they bought the property in 2020 for $120 million. They're taking the room count from 178 to 100. They're basically converting more rooms to suites. It is a National Register Architectural District, whatever, registered building. So they're keeping the iconic 1950s modernist facade. However, in doing my research, it seems like in 2024, they discovered that the building would require an entirely new foundation.
Ooh.
So it's pushed back this opening to maybe 2027, 2028. Jamie, shoot them over to the West Coast where they are having just as many problems. They are trying to build a hotel in Los Angeles. The project is set for the Santa Monica Mountains, specifically Benedict Canyon. However, it has faced significant local opposition and legal hurdles regarding its environmental impact, making its 2026 opening date highly optimistic. I'm not even sure. Like, I was trying to do some research on exactly where this was. Is there an old building there? Jamie, I couldn't find very much in it. The one thing I saw is that the city halted this project in September 2023, and I don't think it's actually started back up.
They
It,
can't
it's
win.
un, it's unclear, but it is interesting. This whole area is somewhat, with all the Palisades fire and everything, it's not that far from all of those situations. So, like, I wonder if that would make things a little more complicated as well. The residents of the Benedict Canyon, the Sierra Club, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservatory have opposed the project due to environmental, traffic, and safety concerns. So, we might not have one in the area anytime soon.
Yeah, it seems like bad luck. So hopefully this island doesn't run into the same.
Hopefully. So I just found those both kind of interesting. Those seems to be it's those projects and this Bahamas project that are like what they have up and coming. Something about the brand though makes me like I don't want to use the word turned off, but I'm not like eager to go stay in one or super excited. But it might just be a pricing thing. I guess I feel like I like Four Seasons so much, and I feel
Yeah,
like
I would agree.
they're a gold standard of like luxury. And then
You
I'm
know what you're
like,
getting.
well, right, and I'm like, "Well, if I really wanna splurge, I feel like I'm gonna go to the Aman," and then I struggle with where I fall. I don't really have anything in the middle that I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we could do this."
Yeah, and when it talks about this property, it talked about like what you would compete with, and it talks about well, I don't want to give one away because one's actually one that you're going to talk about, but it basically talks about like compete with some stuff on St. Bart's and the
Mhm.
Four Seasons in Belize that I just mentioned. Like that's kind of what it's put it up against, and it talks about another Amman property in the Caribbean. So yeah, I'll be curious.
Jamie, my next hotel is the Four Seasons Hotel and Residence Cartagena. Cartagena is an island off the coast of Colombia, and I'll tell you this, it has gained a lot of traction. I see a lot of influencers and people going there. We've been getting a lot more interest of people going there. It's probably a lot better connected flight-wise than you think, like, Delta can get you there out of Atlanta. I think do you have a Charlotte direct flight to Cartagena? Do
I
you know?
don't know. I'm gonna look while you're
Yeah,
talking.
American has a couple direct links as well, so it's not as, remote, I think, of a trip as maybe you would once think. I think Colombia has become a lot more popular. One thing I think this island really has been missing, Jamie, is a luxury/real luxury hotel anchor. There's a lot of mediocre hotels. There's a lot of okay hotels. Like right now, the number one place you're going to book somebody. There's a few very boutique hotels like Casa San Agustin, and then you've got the Sofitel Legend Santa Clara is kind of like the real go-to anchor property for most people. I think this is going to take the ultra luxury anchor and put it in Four Seasons. It's kind of in the middle of the city. This whole area, the Getsami area that it's in, is kind of like up and coming. It's like the hipsterfied area. It's like the art and culinary capital of the city. This is the only hotel, as far as I know, we have that is even like a city hotel at all. So it is technically in the walled city of the island. Now, there are some really good beaches and some other things to appreciate here. This hotel, though, Jamie, this is what I'm really curious about. They've taken several historic buildings and put them together to build a hotel.
Okay.
Now, I like that in theory, but I do really hate when I go to hotels and it's very obvious that it was built in phases or they like, it's like you walk through this part of the hotel and then you like turn the corner and it's like the property's connected weird, the hallways change sizes. So hopefully they avoid a little bit of that. Great news about this property, Jamie. Right now it is set to open May 15th. It has a soft opening April 1st. So we're like by
Okay.
the
We're
time you
right
hear this
there.
episode, we're right here. So one concern I do have about this property, the website has all of the same AI generated photos that it did when we reviewed it in 2024. It was one of our honorable mentions back then. It does seem like it is opening. Here's a few cool notes, Jamie. There is a nice high society feel steakhouse that they opened in the Club Cartagena building, which was apparently a famous, iconic club in the 1920s here. They've got an authentic Napoleon pizzeria that is inside a 16th century church that was then converted to a local movie theater. It's pretty sweet. They have opened a luxury speakeasy, which is the city's first true luxury speakeasy. I don't know what an untrue one would be, or maybe it's just that it's luxurious, but it is hidden inside the former underground water reservoir of the building. So that is kind of cool. And they have a nice rooftop bar, which they say is, 365-degree views of the walled cities, and you'll be able to see the Caribbean harbor. This property is 131 rooms, Jamie. They've got 3 specialty suites that I find pretty interesting. If you're not on a budget, Casa Ambrard is a 3-bedroom private home inside the hotel with its own rooftop plunge pool and private elevator. They have some colonial suites. They have a presidential suite.
Is this bookable yet?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact,
Have you looked at any pricing? I'm just curious because a lot of these other ones
yes.
are not priceable or
So
bookable yet.
base rooms, I was seeing prices for $700-800 all in with
Okay.
tax.
That's pretty awesome.
Some of the suites were up into the 2,000 range.
And this we
There's
can get benefit. So we know we can get benefits on this, right? If someone books with
Mhm.
us, we can get you the breakfast, the property credit, things like that.
Correct. Yeah, all the Four Seasons preferred partner benefits apply. Right now, they've got 2 promos. It's a stay more, save more, and then there's a 4th night free that's running, but it's weird times, and then they have the increased property credit offers as well.
Okay.
Or is that the save more, stay more? Anyway, one of those. There are some good promos out considering it's a brand new opened hotel. So here's the good news, Jamie. We have our kind of 6-month rule we talk about with properties.
Yeah.
January to March, in my opinion, is the best time to be in Cartagena. It's sunny, it's bone dry, and they have these, what do they call those? Trade winds, I guess,
Yep.
kind of keep the humidity really low at that time of year.
Have you been? I've never been there.
I've never been. So you are going to pay a premium for hotel prices, but it's like, I would say, like, think about this maybe for spring break, or if you really need like a break in Christmas time to go somewhere warm, it's a place I think people don't consider.
So I am not a Spirit. I was looking at flights. I do not have a nonstop flight from Charlotte. If
Okay.
you are willing to fly Spirit, you can fly Spirit from Fort Lauderdale for like basically free. It's like under $100, and it's a
Oh my
2 hour and
gosh.
45-minute flight. Yeah,
That's
like even from from Charlotte with a connection in Fort Lauderdale, it's $95 one way. So
the
if you're willing to
spirits of
roll the
Four
dice,
Seasons pipeline.
yep,
What can you say?
that's it. Save on the flights, splurge on the hotel.
There is a really cool thing too. If you're looking at January, in late January, there's a thing called the Hay Festival, which Just seems like a really fun, like, literature and arts festival time of year if that is your scene.
It is not.
I would say avoid October here. That is like high rain season. An interesting note, Jamie, maybe you can back me up on this. Based on its location, I don't think there is really a threat of hurricanes coming through here because it's just
Okay, that's yeah, it's
so
far enough south.
far south. Yeah. So that is a nice bonus. You're not worried about that. So, somewhere you could look at visiting in the summer. I'm pretty excited about this. I think Four Seasons is just very tried and true. I booked someone at the Sofitel and they liked it. I think it's a good property, but I think this really brings the city up to another level. But when you compare a lot of the prices you see, I think there's a Hilton on the beach. There's a really old Hyatt Regency on the beach. I mean, I think you're looking at like $150 a night for some of these places. So this is really
I've actually looked at that
multiplying
Hyatt Regency before.
this is really bringing up the average
Yeah.
nightly room rate in the area for sure. But what's your next property, Jamie?
This one's a little bit of a departure from what we're talking about. This is what I'm actually booked for this year. I've talked about it in another episode, but it's finally coming to fruition. So this one I'm very confident is going to open, and this date has been pushed back a couple times. So I'm quite confident it's also going to open by the date that I'm about to give you. So we are going to Moon Palace the Grand in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. This was supposed to open this month, so it was slated to open March of 2026. They've since pushed the opening date back to June 1st of 2026, and they are calling this a soft opening because this property will not be 100% open. It's going to be a large property. I'm looking at this as kind of like the next Baha Mar type thing, similar size, right? So this is going to have over 2,000 rooms. It is saying 66% of them will have direct ocean views. And similar to Baha Mar, it's going to have two 18-story towers, which is kind of a departure from what you normally see in the Dominican Republic. It's typically smaller resorts, 3, maybe 4-story buildings. So this is going to look completely kind of, I don't want to say out of place, but it's not going to be what you're used to seeing in the Dominican Republic. Massive resort, going to have 19 restaurants, snack venues, multiple bars, a lot of pools. It's going to have a water park. So this is going to be, I mean, I think this is like the next popular family destination that, when I book people Baha Mar, they love it. And they're like, hey, what's somewhere else I can go that's like Baha Mar, or what's somewhere else I can go to that's like Atlantis? There really is nothing that currently compares into like size and scale. So I think this will be something similar, right? Like you want a ton going on, you want a ton of dining options, you want a ton of things to do. This will be a good option. It's also going to have a 18-hole Greg Norman golf course. So you're going to be able to play golf. It's slated to have a casino. That right now has been running into like regulatory government issues. So that is TBD when that's going to open. But soft opening June 1st with more things opening throughout the year. I'm booked for October, which is our fall break. So like I'm right now, fingers crossed that the majority of things are open by then, but I'll start watching, June 1st, what's it look like, what's opening, and then kind of go from there. So pretty excited about this one. There is a group for online, like Facebook group for this. We could probably link in the bottom. We've got about 5,000 people in there so far. So people are sharing, they'll start sharing like reviews and stuff as they go. So it'd be a good spot to get updates of how that's going.
Okay. So is there a chance there's no casino at this hotel?
I don't think there's a chance that there's no casino. I just don't know what they're running into. And I say that because this is going to be built almost right next door to the Hard Rock in the Dominican Republic. Hard Rock has a casino there. I know that you can have a casino. I don't know what the regulatory issues they're running into. I don't think this is going to be a case where we may have talked about another show like the St. Regis in Bermuda. They built a casino and then they couldn't get regulatory approval, so they just put a wall there. So I don't think it's going to be like that because there already is gambling on the island. So hopefully it's just a paperwork snafu or something.
Okay. And then do you have any info on there's supposed to be a good water park here, right?
Yeah, the water park looks, I don't think it'll be like as themed and extensive as, a Baha Mar or an Atlantis, but it is pretty large. I do believe there's going to be lazy river, lots of water slides and stuff like that, but I think it'll be more similar to like, you have a structure with, 6 or 8 water slides, probably like the Hyatt Ziva or Zilara Cap Cana, right? I'm thinking something like that, but on a larger scale.
Okay. Is your impression this is gonna kinda be like a Vegas resorty feel versus more than like a Caribbean feel?
I don't think so. There is a casino, but I don't think it is gonna be when I think about, like, the Vegas-y feel, I think about Baha when it first opened before they tried to make it a little bit more family friendly. I don't picture it being quite like that. I think this will be more from the renderings and everything, Caribbean feel, like a lot of thatch roofs and things like that on the outdoor buildings.
Okay. I
At
guess
least that's my vibe.
the main tower just gives me a little Vegas-y feel, but it's just
I think it's the
huge, right?
size. Yeah.
2,100 rooms. Interestingly, I was reading that I think it's like almost 1,400 of those 2,100 rooms have ocean views based on how they built the
That's what it looks like.
building, so that's kinda cool.
I think this is an interesting fact. I'll be really curious how it plays out. It says by 2027 onward, it's going to be self sustained on renewable energy. Apparently, they're building solar and a bunch of wind to power it. So, whether that's really the case or not, I just think that's pretty interesting. This is, and I will say, I am not typically like a huge all inclusive person, but I'm really excited. This isn't all inclusive. I should add that. I've booked a ton of people at the Moon Palace, the Grand in Cancun. They love it. So, based on their recommendations, I'm pretty excited about this one opening. I think the quality is going to be really good. And right now, it prices out really reasonable. I want to say for a week, we're in for like $4,500 for a family of four. Like, I mean, this is a complete departure from the pricing we're talking about these other places. So obviously this is not the Four Seasons. This is not, Bvllgari or anything like that, but it should be a really cool option in the Caribbean.
Is Moon Palace Cancun kind of their flagship property at this point?
I would say probably. And then like Moon Palace the Grand, which is, I guess, like the nicer section of it, I would say is what, I've booked most people at. The brand also owns a bunch of other it's not just Moon Palace, they own some other, like, Maldives properties and all over the world, but this is what I mean, I compare it mostly to, like, Moon Palace in Cancun. A bunch of Moon Palaces, you've got you got a bunch in the Caribbean. You've got LeBlanc, which is a very popular, like, high-end. You've got Baglioni in the Maldives. You've got a bunch in Europe, so Baglioni, Sardinia, Casa Baglioni in Milan, Venice, Rome, Florence. So you've got some international that's also owned by this brand, but primarily most of their stuff is currently in Mexico, and this will be like the first in Dominican Republic. So pretty excited about that.
Funny, I actually had considered staying at Baglioni, Sardinia. It's a nice looking property.
Yeah, their European stuff looks really nice. I would definitely agree with that. And again, like I know we've talked about LeBlanc a little bit before. Like those are really high end, all inclusive. So you got one in Los Cabos and one in Cancun.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. One last note I did see is that they're talking about bringing a lot of staff from Mexico over to the
That's
DR
interesting.
for this. Yeah. It says reportedly moving thousands of experienced staff members from Mexico, which I would think would be an exaggeration, but I mean, they probably need,
Yeah, over 2,000 rooms.
yeah, they probably need, I mean, probably 5,000 staff total.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what
If
that
you
looks like,
consider
but yeah, it's a lot.
shifts.
Every restaurant.
Yeah. So, well, I'm excited. I'm excited to see a property tour of that place when you get there and some other things. Jamie, we're going to move on to one of my favorite islands. We just did a whole episode on this island, Cayman Islands. We did not talk about this property. I've had a lot of issues with the Grand Hyatt Cayman Islands, and so
Whew.
we're just going to leave that place in the past.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yes, I will say, I don't want to get into it too much, but they delayed their opening and they're not really willing to help reaccommodate me or seemingly anyone. I think one, because there's no Hyatt on the island, and two, they have taken to blame the hurricane hitting Jamaica as the reason
That's
that
fair.
is that fair? The reason why the hotel's not opening on time. So, okay. Moving on though, I kind of mentioned how Grace Bay has kind of seems like it's going towards this Waikiki feel. And 7 Mile Beach is behind that, but I also feel like we're going to get to a point where 7 Mile Beach is kind of turning into this similar Waikiki style atmosphere. Now, when you go to 7 Mile Beach, you're not going there for the privacy. I don't think there's really any kind of, remote or super private beaches. I feel like though, especially like if you get up into the northern part of 7 Mile Beach when you're at the Kimpton, once you leave that little hotel area, it does feel very remote. So I don't want to overstate that the Cayman Islands is turning into Waikiki. I don't feel that way. I also think there's just not enough land there to really like cram in properties and things. But what I think is interesting about the Mandarin Oriental is it's going to be built on St. James Point. So it is separate from 7 Mile Beach. It's one of the only properties that you can really find that's like not trying to cram itself into 7 Mile Beach. So I thought it was important. Their estimated opening date is Q1 2028, which sounds really far, but we're almost in
Yeah, it's
Q2
not that bad.
2026 already. Now, this is a complete ground up hotel build. The Mandarin Oriental hasn't taken over another property. This is just from the studs to the roof. 91 hotel rooms, 42 residents in this trend where I just feel like everything is becoming residential, which is a bit annoying to me. The beach, they claim, is almost a quarter mile long. It's 1,000 square foot stretch of private beach framed by natural cliffs with the classic Cayman blue water that says it will lack jet skis and cruise ship tourists. I think perhaps taking a shot at some of 7 Mile Beach.
I like it.
The residents are already selling at what I read on Reddit is an estimated price of $8 to $30 million.
Who are these people?
I don't know. However, that has made me personally come to the conclusion that this property is going to be significantly more expensive than the Ritz-Carlton,
It does sound that way.
which I mean, that's the only information you have to go by. But I'm like, if they're selling $8 million to $30 million homes, you can't imagine they're going to let you stay there for $600 a night.
Got to keep the riffraff out.
So I think it's I think you really got to kind of wait and see. One thing I will say is like the Ritz-Carlton does food and beverage really well. And so I think the Mandarin Oriental really needs to perform on that end. I'm also curious to see if they're going to have any move to catering towards families because like the Kimpton Hotel Indigo have those great, family suites with the bunk beds. I don't see the Mandarin doing that. And we already kind of dragged the Mandarin Oriental through the mud a little bit, Jamie, in this episode, but I'm going to do it again. What gives me reluctance to get excited about this property? I love Cayman Islands. I like the idea of a property not in 7 Mile Beach. I feel like all the Mandarin Oriental properties in the Caribbean are kind of underwhelming. I think about it, the one, because I considered a trip to their hotel in St. Vincent in the Grenadines, the Mandarin Oriental Canoan. I don't actually know how to say that. The reviews are not very pleasant to this place, and now they're building an intercontinental next door. So now people are complaining about the construction plus everything else. The food is said to not be that good. It's also very expensive. The service is great. Like if you're just a service person, they say their butler service is highly rated. The staff's on top of everything. You're on the pink sand beaches of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but like they can't seem to get food and beverage right. And then the property itself is just not up to the standard of what it costs. And then it's reflected in the price. There's a lot of times where you can get into this place for well under $1,000 a night, which doesn't really seem like a Mandarin Oriental property. So I'm hoping they can do this a little bit better. But I just, it's interesting because you've got the Grand Hyatt, which I think is more of the same on the island. You're kind of getting what I would consider, we can almost make this as a brand like large scale luxury. Like it's still a luxury hotel, but it's like hundreds of rooms. This is kind of going into like remote ultra luxury. Curious to see what the prices can be. It'll be interesting with it being on cliffs. And they have a bunch of, marketing fluff. They're going to have a farm on the property that you can go pick your own dinner for and things. And I don't know if that, yeah.
And then pay a fortune for it.
You know what's funny though is one of the hotels that's so high on my list to go to around the world right now, like top 5 hotels I want to make a trip out of, is Six Senses Ibiza, and that is one of the things people rave about that property is that you can work on that you can work on the farm on property.
Man,
so
I hope to have these rich people problems paying thousands of dollars to work. Man, I like it.
We'll get there one day, Jamie.
One day.
Do you have another property? We got anything left in the bag here?
I could throw one more out there. I do want to vent about my trip that I'm not taking tomorrow while we're on this podcast.
Sure.
We had some really great content lined up for you guys. Really good content. Obviously, what's happening in the Middle East, absolutely terrible. I was supposed to be leaving tomorrow. I had Emirates first class booked, which I was really excited to fly. We were going to be doing the Ritz-Carlton in Muscat. We had the Armani Hotel in the Burj Khalifa. We were doing the Royal at Atlantis and then the Raffles in Doha. So we were doing like this whole Middle East tour and really had this awesome episode that I thought we were going to be doing about going over to the Middle East and how to do it like super luxury. That's obviously not happening now. So I'm hoping to find something fun and interesting that we can talk about in a week or two. So we will see. I'll not let you guys down. I'm going to try and find something cool. So shifting gears back to the Caribbean. I was going to try and do Caribbean or Mexico. It is obviously spring break right now. There is nothing that I can do last minute that is even remotely affordable. So I will not be doing an episode on the Caribbean coming up. But if you're interested in going to St. Lucia, here's a brand new property that's going to be opening right around the corner. It says February. I see some that say March. It is obviously past February. It's not open yet. On their official site, it just says winter of 2026. So it should be any day now. This is going to be the Bay Gardens Sapphire Sands Villa in St. Lucia. This is a really interesting property to me because it's only 27 keys and it is built as 9 3-bedroom villas. It does say that it can be rented and booked as smaller configurations. So you may be able to book it as 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom villas, depending on how you do it. These do come with full kitchens. When I look at this, it kind of reminds me of the episode we did on South Bank. They look like, self-contained villas with everything you need, right? So you've got a lot of them have private plunge pools. You've got, private terraces and balconies, full kitchens. It does come with 24/7 butler service to kind of give you that luxury vibe. I don't know exactly what they're going to be doing for you on a smaller scale property like this. One thing it does mention, which I'm not super familiar with the brand, but it does say, and I'm trying to find where this mentions this. Let me pull up their website. One of the benefits that it says stay at 1, play at 4. So if you stay here, it does say you get complimentary access to all facilities at all Bay Gardens resort properties to experience a variety of dining options, additional pools, and entertainment. So if you do stay here, again, like I said, it's a 9 villa. I think they have a single restaurant there. It is nice to have access to other properties. So if you're going for a week, you don't get sick eating at the same restaurant over and over again. So it looks really cool. Again, small property, but a lot of people, myself included, like you get that little bit of away from the crowds. You're not going to these massive 2,000 room resorts. So good for rest and relaxation versus like nonstop activity.
Okay. The Montage Caye is my last one to wrap this puppy up. Coming to the Bahamas. It's on the Abacos Islands, which is on the outside area of the Bahamas. This was devastated by Hurricane Dorian in 2019, and this Montage Caye is kind of being used as looking at like the resurgence of this island. It's an outer island. Now, before we even get into this, Jamie, they are going to have their own seaplane that will take you from Fort Lauderdale to the hotel.
Oh, that's nice.
So I already think that's awesome. I'm really curious to see how customs and all works with that. But I mean, the thought of a seaplane is pretty interesting. It sounds like they're also going to have the option of you can take a boat, I'm guessing from Nassau or somewhere else. This private island is going to have 7 different private beaches. So I think the nice thing is, even if you go here during like Christmas at 100% capacity, I don't think you're going to feel very crowded. This is also going to have overwater bungalows. This seems to be the thing everyone wants to steal from the Maldives. They're going to have 6 of them. It's a major rarity in the Bahamas, as I was reading, due to their strict environmental laws. So can they actually accomplish these and get these done? We don't know, but Montage Caye has successfully received permits to build these luxury overwater bungalows. See if they get this done. The lead architect, who I do tend to like here, is Nicola, and he's designing the arrival experience to feel like you're an explorer. And so they have whether you arrive on the seaplane or you arrive from the boat ramp, there's a massive like stone arch that's kind of created to be a portal into the sanctuary of this hotel. Might be tacky, might be interesting. 50 suites is this property. Every suite is an ocean view with a private plunge pool and an outdoor shower. I don't really understand the appeal of outdoor showers, but some people seem to be very excited about them. It's given a little bit of South Bank vibes too, Jamie. So you've got this in hotel, 50 suites. You've got the overwater bungalows, and you got 47 residents, and then you've got a 47 slip marina. However, Jamie. Bad news is 110 feet is the largest yacht you can
Uh,
dock there. I
it's
know.
not going to work for me.
So maybe if you downsize in the future, closer to retirement, you'll be set. And then this says it's less than a mile offshore from Marsh Harbor. So it's about a 10-minute boat ride from there.
Okay.
I've never stayed
I'm
in the
really excited about
Montage
this one.
either. I know you stayed at Palmetto Bluff. I'm
Yep.
actually going to Montage Big Sky later this year. I was
Oh,
torn
nice.
between it and the one and only. I settled on the Montage. So we'll see. I don't have a super opinion about the Montage. Everyone I know that stays at them tends to like them.
I mean, I was very impressed. I only went for 2 nights, but I was extremely impressed with the service, food and beverage, and everything. So when they announced this property, I remember actually sending it to the other couple that we went to the Montage Palmetto Bluff with and was like, hey, check this out. This is really exciting. So I'm really excited to see this thing become opening for bookings, which I don't think it is yet, is it? No,
No,
it doesn't
it's
look like it.
they've got it set for what is the we got it's interestingly it says
I saw
opening
late
20.
2026 originally.
Yeah, that's what it says, but I
Yeah, I
how about
agree.
this? I was searching YouTube looking for like drone footage of this place, anything. The few things that I saw were a pretty empty island.
Yeah,
So,
that's
a lot of cool renders, but that just seems to be the par for the course these days of what constitutes property. South Bank Resort has been one of our better property tours, one of our better episode reviews. And this kind of gives me that same vibe, but it's on an island versus like a corner of Turks. But that does seem to be like a trend that I'm noticing where it's like boat in, boat out, residential, but also with hotel feel and kind of some blended amenities and restaurants for everybody.
tell me what you think of this take, and this is my take on it. I feel like everyone now, especially these high end luxury, you attach some residence to it. I feel like you share the cost of all the amenities. Like someone's privately funding you, right? You sell all these villas for 10, $20 million. You're probably making a ton of money on these, and then you can use that money to build out infrastructure and everything. And it's not all baked into just the hotel rooms. At least that's my take on it.
What
Like,
was the question in that? Is that why they're doing
I mean,
residential
I was just
to
seeing if you
offset
would
costs?
agree. Like, I feel like that's got to be the case, right? You have all these, you share the cost across these, and the money's like you're not having to finance it. You're leaving it on somebody else to come up with the money to finance these things.
I guess I really hadn't thought about it. Part of me feels like once something works and somebody does it, everyone else is just going to copy it
Yeah.
until it doesn't work anymore. I think someone successfully put some residents there. Well, case in point, Jamie, the Four Seasons Belize, which shows no sign of ever being open ever, has sold out
So,
phase one
yes,
of their residents. So, like, I mean, they sold out phase one of their residents, and I don't think they show any sign of being a hotel anytime
it's fair.
soon. Yeah, I'm going to pull this photo right now to save to my desktop to make sure I put in the video. But there's like an overshot drone of the island that appears to have been shot this year. And all you can see is an empty island with some marina slips carved out. So I'm like, man, they seemingly got a lot of work to go.
Yeah. And
But
that's why I think we preface these like these have dates, but who knows if it'll ever come to fruition.
what is your take real quick, Jamie, before we go? This will be our kind of parting thoughts. I picked this property, but I had a hard time picking this property because the Bahamas seems to also, just like Turks and Caicos, have an overwhelming amount of new properties. But I'm noticing the Bahamas, all these new properties seem to be on like outer islands, atolls, and whatever. What's your take on that? Like, why the rush for all these like private island
I
properties in the
mean,
Bahamas?
I do think it's super unique, right? Like if you want to take a vacation, and I think particularly, I do think it's a trend now, right? Like you're getting this ultra luxury exclusivity, right? So it's almost like a St. Bart's. You're going to these really exclusive places. Only a few people can go at a time. And I don't want to say people are like always trying to one up each other, but it's like
Sure.
you went here, like, oh, I also went to this private island that only has 60, once almost like the residences. Once someone does it, you're like, oh, I want to have that same experience. It sounds really cool. And I do think, you're starting to see more airlines fly into like some of these remote islands. Like you could fly to Eleuthera from, direct from Charlotte or I think even Atlanta and stuff. So it's becoming much easier to get to some of these more remote places where before it was like, oh, you have to fly into Nassau and then you got to take a private plane or a boat. And I think it's becoming more accessible. And I do think people are just spending a lot more money on travel and experiences. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's what I think.
That seems fair. Yeah. I mean, this is just the Montage brand is just really an interesting one. They're also currently building a property in Punta Mita that I don't think really has an opening date,
Yeah, I mean, right
but
now there's only 6 or 7. You got Big Sky, Deer Valley, Heldsburg, I don't know where that is,
Napa
Kapalua
Valley
Bay. Okay. Kapalua, Laguna, Los Cabos, and Palmetto Bluff. So, I
and
mean, there's
Deer
not a lot of
Valley.
them. Yeah, Deer Valley too.
So what is that?
So
3, 6. So there's 7 open
7
properties.
currently, yeah, which is pretty interesting, right? Like you have a super high-end luxury brand with a very small footprint.
And I think the one I'm going to, right? I think Big Sky is the most recent one to open.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to check that one out.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Deer Valley's been open a long time, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the first one, but it has definitely been around for quite a while.
I think Laguna Beach is the first one. I think that's like
I think
their
you're right.
original flagship property. Well, I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, hopefully Montage continues to grow as a brand. I think that's cool. I'm excited to go see my first one, see how I feel about it.
Got anything else? Any
And
closing thoughts?
I'm very bummed you're not making it to Dubai, Jamie. I think obviously everyone can understand the reason why, but I'm off to Florida this week, so hopefully I'll be marginally safer than you. And then we
I think we'll
both
have
are
a cool
staying
episode
in,
from that.
yes, we're both staying in 2 hotels in the same property
Vicinity. Yeah.
space. And I think we're going to try and compare them, see how we feel. But I think that's it. I think best episode ever. I'm excited. This episode made me realize I'm maybe a little too broke to visit all these properties, but I'm going to try my best. And we made it.
Maybe
We made it.
they'll invite us. Maybe they'll be like, "Oh,
Let's hope
this was
so.
the best podcast we've ever seen."
I would agree. Sadly, we're not going to get invited to the Andaz Grace Bay because we didn't even talk about it. Maybe that's our last throwaway comment, but
That's right.
that property has been almost opening since we started this podcast, and I think we bring it up constantly, and it's still almost opening.
I went by it twice. I went a couple years ago when I stayed at the Ritz Turks and Caicos, and it was just a dirt pile. And then I went a couple months ago when I stayed at, where do we go? South Bank, and it looks like it's getting closer, but it's not there yet.
Has anybody posted like a recent drive? I saw a post on one of the Facebook groups. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to see real quick if someone had like an interesting short of the property or anything, but it doesn't look like it. Last time I saw it, it didn't have windows, but it like
I don't think it had windows when I was there either.
the whole building is kind of there. Oh, how old are these videos? Let's see. Hey, it's so hard to find the date on a YouTube short. Needless to say, I don't think it's opening anytime soon.
Yeah.
What do you think? 2027 is a possibility?
Yeah, I'm going to say early 2027 is where I would put my money, just based on what it looked like when I was there. Maybe November. I can't remember when I went, but maybe November I went. Uh, and I would say it was probably like a year out,
Okay.
just based on how slow it's been going.
What would make you want to stay there or not want to stay there over like the Ritz or some of these other places?
I think it's going to come down to price and probably brand loyalty. I mean, location wise, it's hard to beat. Like you walk out, beach is beautiful, and that reef is right there. I don't remember what the name of the reef is.
So
But
there's
it's
a
like
good
really
snorkel spot.
It's a good
right?
snorkel
Like
spot.
right there.
But knock on wood, good for the consumer. There's so many properties opening. I can't imagine that they're all going to be able to justify crazy prices. So I'm hoping it becomes super competitive and you can get into, that area for a more reasonable price than a lot of other, Turks and Caicos properties right now.
The linchpin of this whole island, which I think we talk about all the time, they got to do something about the airport, right? Like it needs to
100%.
get bigger. I mean, all these hotels are coming in, but I'm like, how are all these people getting into the island?
Yeah. I mean, I really do think every hotel should have some type of impact fee, like airport impact fee per door, right? Like you're building whatever room hotel, you need to give the government $20,000 per room or whatever it is to do airport improvements. But
I don't know if I want to give them ideas on ways to make our hotel stays more expensive.
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like someone has to pay for that hotel, and or for the airport, and I feel like the hotels are just going to make it busier and busier.
Jamie, great news. I mean, this is a Google search, so I don't know.
Okay.
Grain of salt, please. But it does say that in December, that's not good. Well, all right. Let me just read this whole thing, and and then you can
Okay.
give me your feedback, and we'll go offline here. The redevelopment and expansion of PLS Now, the Howard Hamilton International Airport, I didn't even realize it had changed their name, in Turks and Caicos is a high priority project with plans to construct a new terminal,
Okay.
improve infrastructure, and address severe overcrowding, all things that we've touched on.
Yes.
While previous large scale privatization plans were canceled in December 2025, the government remains committed to upgrading the airport to handle growth in high yield tourist traffic.
Okay.
So there was
At least
a
they're doing something.
multi-million dollar, but are they? Because it's the
How
multi-million
long? How
dollar
long ago?
redevelopment project was canceled in December 2025. And they're saying officials are likely pursuing a different strategy. The
Just build a
project
whole new
aims to
airport.
the project aims to alleviate congestion, enhance security, increase capacity to meet passengers' demand for the next 30 years. So does that imply to you that they're going to be done in 30 years with the airport expansion?
Right? I don't know.
The airport has struggled with increased traffic, making current facilities inadequate. That is
Yeah, no
a
kidding.
gross understatement. I mean, I flew out of there on Christmas Day, which I have to imagine for winter break is probably the most
Slowest.
unpeak travel
Oh
day,
yeah,
and
slowest day.
there was not a seat in the terminal for my
Yeah,
flight.
that's
So
no
I
thank you.
couldn't imagine leaving like the Saturday before kids go back to school.
Yeah. Yeah, that Saturday or Sunday before the disaster.
So it sounds like they know they need an airport, but I imagine I mean, if you've ever been to the airport, they could tell you that. This is an interesting fact though, Jamie, before we're just not that we're trying to turn into
Yeah.
an aviation podcast. In 2015, the traffic at that airport was somewhere between 357,000 visitors. 2024, it's now 734,000 visitors. So the airport has doubled its
Yeah, that's crazy.
visitor numbers in 10 years, but they haven't really done anything to expand. I It just kind of makes me nervous without all these I don't know. I mean, these hotels are going to be cheap because no one can get there.
Yeah. Well, and I always try to think about too, these hotels are like ultra luxury hotels, right? So you're a high-end consumer and this is your like welcome to the island and then also your last memory leaving the island. And it is I would say I guess the arrival's probably better than the departure, but like when you depart and that is a miserable experience, you can't find a seat. If you've got kids with you, it's just not a good experience. That's when you're like, do I really want to come back here? Like they need to fix that.
I would agree with you because I think anytime we have these episodes, my lasting impression of the two experiences between Cayman and Turks, I liked both. Both are very expensive. I actually think Turks has better hotels, but I find myself wanting to go back to Cayman.
Yeah. I mean, they have a nicer airport by far.
Yes. I think Cayman has elite infrastructure comparatively. There's a lot of street lights. I mean, one of the other issues in Turks, to no fault of being in Turks, but like it rained a lot when we were there. And I didn't even bother the rain, but did I end up taking pictures? I don't even think I took pictures of it, but the road in front of South Bank flooded.
Ooh. Okay.
The only reason I even made it into the hotel is because I just followed somebody and I watched him go in and I was like, I can make that. And then on the second or third day, they brought in these machines and they were pumping the water out of the road. And then the main road in Turks, one of the two lanes washed out, which look, it's an island. There's not a
Yeah.
lot of places for the water to go. It happens. But it just seems like on every little corner, they've just got these growing pains that they really hopefully can address sooner than later.
Yeah. That's not fun.
But I'd much rather have a lot more new hotel opportunities than no hotel
That's
opportunities
fair.
in the island. So it is exciting. We didn't even touch on too. I think you mentioned the Hotel Indigo, but there's also like an Intercontinental and Kimpton being built there too. Like it's a
So many
hotel
hotels.
property. So perfect. Well, that is all for us, guys. We really exhausted the Caribbean this week, and we will be back next week, maybe with some Florida chat. I think we have a lot of Florida content in the pipeline. So
Yeah. God,
hopefully you like Florida.
I don't want to drop the exciting one, but there's an exciting one coming.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.